Hi, Mickey.
Hey, Bob.
How you doing?
Gaining momentum.
Excellent. Good to have you back. I mean, I feared that maybe you're agreeing to return to the world of blogging heads meant that your campaign had failed and you were crawling back to journalism on your hands and knees.
Not yet.
As people may or may not know, I'm sure most do, you're actually running for Senate, the real Senate, the one they see on TV.
Yes, I'm running for the United States Senate against Barbara Boxer. She's the incumbent. I'm running in the Democratic primary. Mm-hmm. And I have a website up now.
I saw that.
kausforsenate.com. I wish I could show you banners and bumper stickers and buttons, but all in good time. But I do have a website that has some nice graphics, and it has a manifesto, and it has a place where you can contribute money, which is important to me at this point.
And how's that going? How's that going, Mickey? The fundraising. How's the fundraising going?
I've raised a little over $10,000, which is...
You're kidding! You're kidding!
No,
You've raised $10,000? Who gave you $10,000?
About 100 different people.
Oh, man.
The web is an excellent fundraising tool, but Barbara Boxer raised $2.4 million, Bob.
Yeah, but you're just getting started.
I'm just getting started. Now, I need money to buy web ads and, at the low-hanging fruit, at blogs that are friendly to me and whose readers will be friendly to me, and then raise money from that and raise awareness and then branch out eventually into the blogs that actually reach and the ads, radio ads, video ads, etc., that actually reach California voters. I also need to I need to convince the press corps that I'm serious, and I would say I'm close but haven't done it yet. So you would think that I would be in a good position to sort of be a press corps, somebody who the press corps likes to go to for a quote, even and exaggerate their importance in the race. But that hasn't happened yet.
You've gotten a lot of media, actually. You had that great thing, the Deborah Solomon thing in the New York Times, and a bunch of, Lloyd Grove.
Yeah, it's weird. It's weird. I got way too much national media for considering, how, in relation to my actual importance. And I haven't gotten all that much local media. I had a bad interview from my point of view. It was an accurate interview, and I gave a bad interview to the Beverly Hills Courier or the Beverly Hills Weekly, and I gave a good interview to the New York Times, and I was all happy until I realized that the Beverly Hills Weekly was much more important to me at this point than the New York Times, because that reached actual voters in California.
So does the Times.
So I have to make it more local, and I'm working on that. And I have to somehow, make some noise and get the attention of the press corps and even, force Barbara Boxer to recognize that I'm here. That would be good.
That would be good.
In addition to the...
Well, can you kind of put the thing in context for people? I mean, in terms of your actual aspirations, because originally you said you had no hope of winning. It was an issues campaign. In the Lloyd Grove interview, you said something that I hope we can take as a joke, but maybe not, which is that now you're in this to win. Was that a joke?
Well, now I want to win. I mean, okay, here's the way it started out. I started off giving these interviews and sort of playing it safe and saying, well, of course I'm not going to win, but I'm just raising issues, and I'm not a megalomaniacal madman. I'm not deluding myself into thinking I have a good chance of winning. Then the Democratic Party used those words against me to deny me a speaking opportunity at the convention, which is coming up this weekend.
Now
because they declared they had this gratuitous extra test for who gets to talk. Instead of just having a debate where all the candidates come on and they vote and endorse whoever they want, they rule out all the candidates except the incumbent who they want to annoy beforehand on the grounds that they're not viable. And they said that I was not viable because I said I didn't think I was going to win. Well, I could be pleasantly surprised. It doesn't mean just because I don't think I'm going to win doesn't mean I'm, that it's impossible or that I'm not trying to win. But anyway, they that was
just because you said you're not trying to win doesn't mean you're not trying to win. Is that your line?
No, just because I said I'm not going to win doesn't mean I'm not trying to win, and doesn't mean I can't win. Those are logically distinct propositions.
Okay.
I claim. But anyway, and they ruled out all the other candidates who said they were going to win. So they just want to rule out anybody except Barbara Boxer. But Bob, they pissed me off.
Big mistake on their part.
And it's no more Mr. Non-Viable Nice Guy.
No.
And, I was going to run a campaign where I didn't say anything bad about Barbara Boxer and I just raised these issues. Screw that.
The gloves are off, Mickey. The gloves are off.
I actually changed my mind. And now,
say something really nasty about her. Say something really mean about her right now.
She's not the most effective senator in the.
Oh, Mickey, come on! I mean something blogging heads mean. That's like MSM mean. This is blogging heads. Say something you couldn't say on mainstream media about Barbara Boxer.
That I couldn't say in the mainstream media.
That you couldn't. Yes.
No, that would be sexist.
Use bad language if you want.
Those would be sexist things.
No, you could just talk about not her, but like her mother or something. That would be sexist.
I could say she was named one of the 10 dumbest Congress people by some magazine somewhere.
Is it true?
I doubt it. She doesn't seem that dumb to me. She seems orthodox. She seems insecure. She seems you will go over her position statements with a fine-tooth comb, and you will not find a scintilla of creativity or a departure from what I would call lockstep liberalism.
You know why, Mickey? You know why? You know why? Because she, unlike you, is not a common-sense Democrat, as your website puts it.
Okay,
you are a common-sense Democrat, and she's not.
Well, Bob, I thought the common-sense Democrat had some traction, some resonance, because there are all these issues where the Democratic orthodoxy now departs from common sense. It departs from common sense to think that you can have a wave of 12 million illegals and maybe another wave and not drive down wages for the unskilled. There's a labor market. If you increase the supply, you decrease the price. That's common sense. They defy common sense. It defies common sense to think you can have a school system like Los Angeles with 33,000 teachers and over 10 years only fire 4 of them for poor performance and think you're going to get a good school system. You're not. That's not common sense. So,
common sense.
Then it turned out that every other politician in the world used common sense. Sarah Palin uses common sense. It's like a complete hack cliche.
Yeah.
I didn't know that, Bob, but in my case it means something. Unlike in Sarah
That's what distinguishes you from all of the other common sense Democrats, Mickey, is your common sense.
I don't think
Congratulations.
I don't think there are any other common sense Democrats. I think there are Republicans who call themselves.
You know, one thing I'm wondering about, Mickey, is, as your friend John Edwards, yeah?
It's good that I don't detect the tone of insincere irony in your voice. Otherwise,
that would be unlike me.
Yeah. Go ahead.
But what? No, I don't know. As John Edwards demonstrated, the campaign trail is full of sexual temptation, and I'm just wondering how you're handling that.
Well, the only group I've talked to is the Alice B. Toklas Gay, Lesbian, and Transgendered PAC in San Francisco, and they were very nice, but I managed to keep my libido in check for that entire episode.
So far, so good.
Instructional.
Excellent.
But so far I'm beating John Edwards handily in that regard.
Okay. I'm just checking. As the momentum builds, though, it's not going to get easier.
Well, the momentum can only build. I'm counting on the sort of final or faster thesis here. We're 2 months away from the election, which doesn't seem like a lot, although in internet time it's a lot. So I'm hoping that with the ability of the internet to raise funds on my website www.kausforsenate.com, that I can have some momentum by June 8th when the primary is. Conventionally, I would be way too late, of course. But
no, we live in a filer faster era.
Although didn't Wendell Willkie catapult himself into the nomination in about 90 days or something?
I'm out of my depth here, Mickey.
Charlie Peters wrote a book about my old boss. Charlie Peters wrote a book about that. I think it was very quickly, but he was aided because he had the backing of Time magazine, which is so dominated the media that serve the function of the internet.
Yeah.
And could take this unknown and make him the nominee. So I don't have Time magazine or even Newsweek.
Well, you don't have. You mean you don't have the endorsement of Time magazine?
Although Newsweek is a good idea. I used to work at Newsweek.
Yeah.
Maybe I can talk to.
Maybe you can make a few calls and promise a few favors.
There you go. Call in some chits.
On the campaign itself, you have been accused. I mean, let's take your two big issues here, okay?
Right.
You can recite them, no doubt, by name, right? Card check and immigration.
Well,
and are there three now?
Well, you could split the unions thing into card check in the private sector and just the general way that the government public employee unions, which are most unions now, most union members are government workers, not private workers, is screwing up the democratic pursuit of liberal goals. We're the party of government. We have to make the government work, and the unions are stopping the government from working. So that's
unionism more broadly. So
yes.
So when your friend James Walcott blogged, and is Mickey running on anything other than unionism, welfare, and immigration? The answer is no. It's just unionism and immigration, right? Welfare is kind of yesterday's battle.
Welfare is yesterday's issue because they passed this big reform, and the Democrats have been very leery of undermining it. So that's not a hot issue at the moment. It could be in the future. I mean, they still want to undermine it. They just don't dare.
Okay.
There are other issues, but there's a tension. It's weird. I get all this advice from people.
There's an internal tension in your coalition. Is that what you're going to say?
No. I just get conflicting
well, there is
advice.
one that I'll point out later. Then go ahead. What's your tension?
Okay. I get advice from the one side are the people who are my friends that don't want me to embarrass myself, and they say, Mickey, just stick to these two issues, make your little points. Gain respect because you know these issues, and call it a day. And then I get advice from other people who know more about campaigns, who are mainly Republicans but not entirely, who say, no, you have to actually run a conventional campaign where you say you should fire Barbara Boxer, replace her with me, and I'd be a better standard bearer for the party, and you have to run on a whole bunch of issues, not just two. You're not going to get a lot of votes with just two issues. You have to have the whole panoply. You have to have photos of you meeting and greeting a multi-ethnic array of voters, all of which would be good. But those people actually sort of want me to run a conventional to-win campaign that involves roughing up Barbara Boxer.
Yeah.
Which is certainly possible. One could, if one wanted to rough up Barbara Boxer, one could rough up Barbara Boxer.
Do it, Mickey. Do it now.
If one had the money.
Oh.
Well, it seems to me all you have to do is play that clip of her bristling when a general says, yes, ma'am. This is like a high-ranking military guy testifying for her committee said, yes, ma'am. And she said, please don't call me ma'am. Call me senator. I worked very hard for that title. But
wasn't the same guy presumably calling male senators, wasn't he saying yes, sir, to them?
Yes, that's the point. He was doing the polite thing that all military people do, and she took umbrage at it. The pro-Boxer side of that, which I've since learned is true, is that there are a lot of women of a certain age who really don't like being called ma'am. Because when you're called ma'am, that puts you in the mother 50, 60-year-old category as opposed to the babe category. And that's a legitimate annoyance. So
what would the ad be like? Barbara Boxer ashamed of her womanhood or something. What are you thinking here?
You just run that clip over and over again. The clip is
with no voiceover. But that's
not
a campaign ad. That's a YouTube. You just want something to go viral on YouTube? Put it on our site.
No,
we'll see what we
you run it on the TV and you say Barbara. You could say Barbara Boxer doesn't understand the military. I mean, clearly anybody who does that is sort of alien from military culture.
Well, but that just seems like kind of a slightly too complicated argument to connect that reaction to her comprehension of the military What, you know...
Well, right,
I don't know.
That's why you just have to run it. If you run that clip, you will not like Barbara Boxer. I mean, unless you're a woman of a certain age who sympathizes with her.
Okay.
But your reaction was, of course, the military guy was just being polite. So your reaction, I think, will be the dominant reaction, and I think that's... I have this argument with my friends. It seems to me that that's a devastating clip for her.
Wow.
I don't have the money to run it, but... And
so
I'm
you've
not
got a third issue now. It's not just unionism and immigration. It's Barbara Boxer ashamed of her womanhood. That's a great campaign slogan, Mickey.
Not ashamed of her womanhood, Bob. Proud of her womanhood and thinking that the
Barbara
general
Boxer
is
too
slighting her
damn
womanhood.
proud. Too damn proud of her womanhood. I'm trying to help you, Mickey. I'm trying to help you.
You're totally on the wrong track. Barbara Boxer insulting America's military. That's the theme.
That's it. That's it. Link her to the betray us thing somehow. Yeah, go ahead.
Anyway, that's the tension, and I'm sort of, as usual, when I get this discordant advice from people, I'm doing both of them in a half-assed fashion. So that's where we're going.
So tell me this. I mean, how exactly... Let's assume that you might not win this, conceivably. And that it is an issue campaign.
Like you get fired.
I'm sorry. Was that bad luck? I'm sorry. I didn't mean to jinx you. I thought it was like talking about a no-hitter, and you're not supposed to assert possible success. So I thought I was doing the right thing.
Okay.
But let's assume that you want to raise issues. Like, what will be the sign that you've done it, and through what fora will you do it? I mean, have you already been denied access to any legitimate debate? It seems that would be the key. That would be the key threshold. Have you already fallen short of that? Not that that's a bad thing.
Well, I haven't challenged her to a debate yet. I mean, that'll happen. And
do it now. Do it now. Let's do it. Let's do it together. We challenge her.
Of course, I challenge her to a debate. That would be a good thing. It would be interesting. It would be informative. But
you know, Mickey, I'll tell you, the last person who tried to challenge somebody to a debate on Blogging Heads was Ezra Klein, and that just didn't work out.
Well, right. So there you go.
So make sure you challenge someone with some spine.
What she's scared of, I believe, was Ezra Klein's rap on me. There really is no... there is no obvious forum for a debate. I'd have to talk somebody into sponsoring it, which I guess is something I should do.
So there's not one that happens anyway, because of course the incumbent would not want to dignify any such forum, right? I mean, there's not one
that happens anyway, and there's also another candidate in the race, unfortunately.
A real one?
He's on the ballot.
Not that you're not real, but I mean, you know what I mean?
There are three people on the ballot. There's Barbara Boxer, me, and a producer named Brian Quintana.
Huh. So you got a 1 in 3 chance.
He's playing the Latino card.
So you'll be a finalist. You'll be a finalist. That's good.
You don't want him in the debate. So, we'll have to... if you're me, you don't want him in the debate. So there is no forum in which all the candidates on the ballot appear at the same forum.
No, but a three-way debate...
That's the difficulty.
A three-way debate beats no debate for your purposes, so you should unite with him to demand a debate.
Well, it's weird. There are all these, dare I say, fringe candidates who have contacted me and asked me to unite with them, and I sort of don't want to.
No.
The logical place to have at least a dueling speech thing was at the Democratic Convention this weekend, and that's why they imposed this gratuitous test to knock everybody out except Barbara Boxer. So
that's like machine politics or something, man.
It's exactly, Bob. Machine is the word I'm using, although, of course, Scott Brown used that word too, and look what happened to him.
Are you driving around in a truck? Have you tried that?
No, I haven't tried that yet. I'm driving around in my father's old car, which is not well suited. It's an old Volvo.
What's the car?
It's an old Volvo 850, not well suited.
Oh, excellent! A Volvo made by foreign workers. Good thinking, Mickey. Like, it's not enough to be slapping American workers in the face every day with your campaign platform. We've got to drive a foreign-built car. You know, they can call you whatever they want, Mickey, but if they don't call you a political genius, they're just wrong.
It's pretty clear that, well, first, the unions put 5,000 good California auto workers out of business at the NUMMI plant, where they produce very good cars. They actually built Toyotas that had a very good... It's the joint Toyota-GM
well, you should punish them. You should punish them by driving a Volvo, then. Now I understand.
Hang on. This is a serious point. There was a very good This American Life by Ira Glass on the whole history of the NUMMI plant, about how a few far-sighted UAW leaders went along with this plan. They learned how to produce cars the Japanese way without union work rules, et cetera, et cetera. They took the very same workers that were producing crap cars under GM and made good cars under Toyota. And, of course, the rest of the UAW and GM resisted this. And a fool named Stephen Jokic rose to the head of the UAW and managed to drive General Motors into the ground. And when General Motors went broke, it dragged down this very good plant and put all those 5,000 people out of work. So the UAW hasn't done great for auto workers in California. That was the last auto plant in California. It is now gone. On the car front, obviously I should drive a Ford Fusion, except that it's made in Mexico. But you know, I could work that to my advantage. But I don't have money to buy a Ford Fusion. The Ford Fusion's a good car. It would be green yet Ford. Hey, what more do you want?
It's not too late. You can use the $10,000 to buy a used one.
No, you can't. There are no used Ford Fusions.
So wait a second. So on this question of your coalition, is there any internal tension? I mean, by being against card check, you presumably antagonize unionized workers. I would think that some of those unionized workers are people who have reservations about illegal immigration because they perceive those people as potential competitors, although maybe they don't. And in that, but if they do, then they would face internal conflict when deciding whether to vote for you, right?
That's right. That's the least of my internal coalition conflicts. But
what are some other ones?
Well, some friends of mine urged me to come out in favor of legalizing marijuana.
I was going to ask about that. How do you feel about that?
I haven't been asked about it. Well, on drug policy, I defer to a guy named Mark Kleiman, who's a professor at UCLA. And his position is you should legalize it, but only for growing for yourself and giving it to friends. He wants to keep out Philip Morris and heavy advertising of marijuana.
Well, that sounds like the Berkeley position on this. You know, that sounds like old left or something.
Well, but he's not an old left guy. He's a hard...
No, he's not. He's a blogging head, in fact.
He's a sort of hard-ass, number-crunching, tough guy. And the problem... I don't see how you can have people grow marijuana for themselves and not have them sell it. That's the thing. I mean, they're going to sell it, right? Maybe he realizes that. Maybe he realizes they're going to sell it, but
the sale shouldn't be legal, is all he's saying.
Well, right, but if you're legalizing marijuana in order to increase respect for the law, you don't want to write a law that you know is going to be violated from the get-go. So I'm not sure I can go to his position. Plus, the logical group constituency for the anti-amnesty part of my campaign is African Americans and African American churches, which is how you reach African American voters. They would hate legalizing marijuana. They're the main bulwark, one of the main bulwarks against any sort of drug legalization. So
you are thinking about winning. Mickey, you are thinking about winning.
And also, if you went to those groups, you might have trouble with the with the union skeptical part of my platform, because a lot of those guys are union guys.
Right. So you're actually thinking about, you're thinking seriously about building a coalition, Mickey. That's a troubling sign. That's one of the warning signs that you've become megalomaniacal, you know.
No, you're just trying to get as many votes as you can, Bob.
There's a fine line between that and trying to win, Mickey.
I'm trying to maximize the number of votes I get, because that will determine whether people think my message had any traction or not.
I see.
And, Jill Stewart,
it's like all the writers who want to maximize the number of readers, not so that they'll be rich and famous, but so that their ideas will help the world.
Exactly, Bob.
I know that.
Jill Stewart of the LA Weekly has a bet with somebody that I won't get 5%. So I want to make her lose that bet.
5% would be pretty solid, actually. That's how many people? That's tons. That's six figures. Maybe.
It's certainly
It's at least 6. It could be 7. Who knows?
I don't think it's 7, but
it's close, right? What? Oh, I bet it said. California doesn't have 20 million people
who vote in the Democratic primary? No.
Oh, right. I forgot. There is that. It's got to be 6.
I was going to say that my goal was to beat Gary Coleman because
Gary
Coleman ran in the governor's race. When Schwarzenegger won, and he did pretty well. He came in 5th. And I think he got 55,000 votes.
Well, you'll do better than 5th.
He's been ill, so one can't make that joke because he had some medical trouble.
Okay, I wasn't making a joke. What joke? What joke aren't we making here?
We're not saying I want to do better than Gary Coleman.
Well, you already said that.
I know, but I said it in a context that showed compassion and empathy.
That's the kind of Democrat you are. You're not just a common sense Democrat. You're a common sense compassionate Democrat, Mickey.
Thank you, Bob.
No problem.
Bob?
Yeah?
You came this close this week to having every time your name mentioned, they would say Pulitzer Prize-winning author Bob Wright.
I don't know if I came that close. I was a finalist. I was one of 3 finalists. But you never know.
You can't come any closer. You were the runner-up. What are you talking about?
Well, the fact that you can't come closer doesn't mean your chances were more than 1%. I mean, even if there's one overwhelming favorite that's definitely going to win it, they're always going to name a couple of finalists. So you don't know what your chances were.
Well, right, but you were closer than anybody else on the planet, except for John Cassidy, who was also a runner-up.
Yeah. This is kind of a sore spot with me, Mickey. This is.
I know, that's why I brought it up, because you were giving me grief.
Tread gently here. The weird thing is. Yeah, go ahead.
I thought I would hone in on the sore spot, but it's also a compliment. I mean, Jesus, I wasn't runner-up for the Pulitzer Prize.
You're telling me, buddy.
And you lost out to a book, Bob, that was praised as well documented. That's sort of in the book. That's sort of like saying, "I want to fix you up with this girl, and she has a great personality. She does thorough research."
It sounded like a worthwhile book, though. The book that won sounded good.
Exactly, a worthwhile book.
It was worthwhile. But what's weird about this thing is with some awards, they tell you that you're a finalist, and then you bask in that, and you have the hope of victory, and you get some publicity, and then they tell you didn't win, and you have the disappointment, but you had the basking. With this, you find out at the exact same time. It's just
you have to bask now. Now is the basking.
You can't bask because you just found out you lost. There's no basking.
You're basking in the sort of diminished glow of.
It's a weird kind of.
It is weird. I agree.
It's really a poor substitute for true basking. I've done a little basking in my time. This ain't.
I know Pulitzer Prize winners, and it hasn't dramatically changed their lives.
Oh, it totally changes your life. You know what it does? I'm sure your speaker's fees go up. It's like, oh, never mind. I'm not, because I don't want to act like I've spent the time since then fantasizing about what I would have done for my life, because I would never do that. Material rewards mean nothing to me. But enough about me coming in second or third, Mickey. Let's talk about you coming in second or third.
I hope I come in second. Anyway, third would be bad.
You're one of 3 finalists like me. We have a lot in common, except that you're finding out you're a finalist in advance and you're basking. That's what you're doing. This whole thing is a big bask.
It's actually sort of a nightmare. I mean, because there's this clock ticking. Unlike blogging, when you write whatever you write when you write. Mm-hmm. There's this clock ticking, and you got to do all these 100 things before June 8th. And you wake up every morning, and you got to do this. And I, that's the way most people wake up, right? But I haven't been used to waking up like that. So it's a lot of work.
It's a whole new life. But you're still being kind of a journalist. I mean, this is probably your mistake, I mean, if you just listen to the way you're analyzing policy here, you're doing it like somebody actually thinking about it rather than saying things that are conducive to winning in politics. I noticed this about your blog on your campaign site. It's an actual blog where you're kind of thinking about stuff. That's a mistake, thank you.
Well, sir, I certainly been too analytical here. I mean, basically, to give the non-analytical version, I think the Democratic Party is in a rut. It's been captured by its interest groups, and as a result is adopting policies that are disjointed from reality, bad for the country, and that violate common sense. Mm-hmm. I think it would be a disaster for the economy if we passed a bill that got rid of the union secret ballot and imposed federal arbitration on first union contracts. You know, when I first heard about that bill, I thought, oh, well, you know, companies do arbitration all the time. What's so terrible about that? And the people on the right were saying there's going to be a federal bureaucrat coming from Washington and imposing a settlement on firms. And that was ridiculous until I read the bill and learned that there will be a federal bureaucrat coming from Washington imposing the terms. This isn't an arbitrator like you know, both parties choose an arbitrator and they abide by his ruling. This is a federal bureaucrat who comes from Washington, part of the Federal Bureaucratic Arbitration Corps, and tells companies how to run their business when they have a union, and he's going to tell, and he uses as his official standard the way all the other companies run their business. So it's a penalty to innovation. If you're a businessman, you have this idea that you're going to give more power to the bottom of your hierarchy and not pay supervisors as much. This guy will say, no, you can't do that. You have to do the same thing that the industry practices are. So it'd be a disaster that would be a disaster for the economy. And why do Democrats think more unions like the UAW are good for the economy? And it would be a disaster if we had another immigration reform like we had in '86, where the enforcement doesn't work, the amnesty works, and we get another new wave of immigrants looking for the next amnesty, which is the one we're considering now. That would hurt the people at the bottom of the labor market. I during the Denver convention, I talked to a bunch of Obama's economists. And you ask them, well, isn't this going to hurt low-wage workers? And they will say, only a little bit. Well, you know, the arrow's pointing in the wrong direction. The Democrats should boost the pay of low-wage workers. Anyway, that's the sincere non-ironic pitch.
Are you getting any traction on this immigration campaign? Because I was told recently by a black friend that actually, among blacks, there is quite a bit of dislike of current immigration policy and the influx of competing workers and so on. But and I remarked that it seems surprising to me that there isn't much of a political manifestation of that. There don't seem to be a lot of candidates trying to harness it. You are trying to harness it, but I suppose that given your campaign resources to date, you have not managed to make a huge number of black voters in California aware of the fact that you carry what some of them may consider their banner.
That's correct, but I intend to do it before the election is over. That's the big thing I have to do. One of the big.
And you're serious. You have a plan.
Well, the plan would be to go talk to a lot of black groups. I mean, that's the plan. If you look at the vote on Prop 187, which was this draconian anti-immigrant bill that Pete Wilson sponsored over a decade ago, the black vote was very close. So there is a lot of, even though everybody in the elite was telling them, oh, you have to vote against this thing. So yes, there is a lot of dissatisfaction and a lot of black.
When you go speak to these black groups and to mobilize their support, are you going to share with them your views on affirmative action?
That's another tension in my coalition, Bob.
I think so. There is some new Democrat, old Democrat tension. That's why there aren't many people who are both, maybe. At least to the extent that you're both.
But my problem isn't that I'm paying too much attention to constituency politics. My problem would be that I'm saying what I think and the constituency politics would not work out.
Yeah.
So
no, there is a problem with saying what you think. You know, I'd like to give you a little practice in this regard. Do you mind if I kind of pepper you with a few questions of the sort that a journalist might ask you at a press conference or something? And you give... I predict that it will be hard for you to give... that almost all of your answers will either be unresponsive or evasive or untrue or impolitic. And you don't want to be impolitic in politics, right?
Well, Bob, I've given so many press conferences already, that I'm an old hand at this.
It's old hat. You can do it in your sleep. Care to lie down? You ready?
Yeah.
Okay. First question. What did you know and when did you know it?
About what?
Okay, never mind. Next question. Who should fill John Paul Stevens' Supreme Court seat?
Oh, Kagan's fine. It's weird.
Elena,
people
not
say
Bob. I hope Elena. You mean Elena.
Elena. But people say people say that...
Mickey, first of all, that's not the way a politician says it. Oh, Kagan's fine. Come on, say it the way a politician would say it.
I think we need a... well, it's very odd. I disagree with both main schools of jurisprudence. On the left are the originalists who sort
Mickey,
of think...
that's not the way a politician would say it either. Come on.
Why do I have to say it exactly the way a politician would say it? I would like somebody to carve out an actual centrist jurisprudence. I don't think that's about to happen. So the best we can hope for is an actual sort of pragmatic moderate. And Elena Kagan seems to fit that bill. And there are many other judges who would fit that bill, and a lot of them are on Obama's list, and they would be fine. The rap on Kagan is that she hasn't been a good Solicitor General. None of the liberals will print this because they like her, but apparently she. I don't know what that means. I guess she's not good at oral argument. But if you're a justice, of course, you don't need to be good at oral argument. You just have to be good at listening to oral argument. So I don't think that would be a disqualifying barrier. But apparently she hasn't covered herself with glory as SG.
Mickey, you are failing to transition from journalist mode to politician mode. This is
That's
really
not true, Bob, because I have to get publicity, and the way you get publicity is by being unconventional and saying wacky things. So if you say discordant things,
okay. Should the Pope resign? Should the Pope resign? Yes or no?
None of my business. I'm not a Catholic. I would say I haven't looked into it. I would say no. But, I mean, is there evidence that this goes all the way to the top? I would have to speak to my...
What am I? Wikipedia, Mickey? You're the politician. You got to have things to say.
I'm not going to call for the Pope to resign.
Okay, that's a position. I like that.
I call for a full and fair investigation.
Now you're talking. Now you're talking. You can win this election, Mickey Kaus. That was excellent. That was good. That was really good. Okay. What priority do you place on reducing the budget deficit in the near to immediate future? How do you weigh budget deficit reduction against keeping the economic recovery going?
Well, I think the priority has to be keeping the economic recovery going, and I think we needed a big boost of Keynesianism, and I wish it had been more immediate. But the recovery is going, and in a year, I hope it'll be going full steam, and then we really have to start reducing the deficit in earnest. So I would say we have 6 months or so before we really are in the no-fund zone of we have to figure out how to reduce the deficit. The problem with the stimulus is what I don't understand is why the Democrats didn't go along with a payroll tax cut. I mean, that is Republicans like it because it's a tax cut. A lot of Democrats, like Mike Kinsley and even Arianna Huffington, support it. It's a regressive tax, so you'd be cutting a regressive tax, giving more money proportionally to poor people than rich people. And it has an immediate effect. I mean, yes, it doesn't have the full Keynesian multiplier because some people will save some of that money and they won't spend it right away, but it's going to the people at the bottom of the scale, so they're probably going to spend it all. And it's immediate. It happens right now. Whereas, stimulus spending on the government has taken a year to get going. Only now do you see the road crews out building things. Well, it's a year too late. So you're blaming your President Obama. That's how you're going to establish your credentials as a Democrat. Saying my president screwed up. I'm blaming the Democratic Party and the labor unions that went big for construction jobs and adding to the federal payroll, which we will have trouble cutting now. Whereas the tax, progressive, the payroll tax you can always raise again. It's hard to cut the payroll, and they wanted to build in hundreds of thousands of new union jobs, and that took a while. They also on the jobs that were supposed to be right away, like the green jobs, the so-called where you're supposed to go around and give people advice on how to save energy and weatherize homes, et cetera, et cetera. Those were supposed to be shovel-ready immediate. Well, according to the unions, made the government apply the the infamous Davis-Bacon regulations to them, where the government sets the wage increase and has a survey, and it took almost a year to do this survey. So it delayed these shovel-ready jobs by a year, just to please the labor unions. That was a mistake. So, Bob, I have an innovative policy proposal.
Excellent.
Unfortunately, I don't have a 3-point plan. I have a 1-point plan. Well, I don't
Spell
see
it
why.
out. Capsulize it in one sentence. Give us a soundbite here.
We need a Fed-like board to cut the payroll taxes in bad economic times. Empowered to cut the payroll taxes temporarily by a fixed amount to provide an instant jolt of stimulus that would be faster than the Congress can act. So suppose we had an independent board that said you could cut the payroll tax by 5 points. You could just vote. Congress can override it if it wants, but it probably wouldn't. And you have to raise it back again higher than it would otherwise be in good times to make up for the lost revenue. But it could fiddle with the rate at which the FICA Social Security tax is deducted from your paycheck. So if there was a recession looming, boom, you see more money in your paycheck instantly because the FICA tax would be reduced. It seems like a useful stabilizing mechanism. It's like delegating a bus driver the power to drive the bus from here to Las Vegas. Congress can't make those decisions quickly enough.
Right.
You have to delegate it to a third party.
I think you want to avoid comparing your financial policies to trips to Las Vegas, Mickey. But aside from that, I thought that 17-sentence answer to my request that you boil it down to one sentence was really not too bad. I think you're getting better. Okay, where do you stand on the financial regulation proposals moving through the Senate? What should we do to avoid future financial meltdowns?
God, I knew about this last week, and I have to bone up. And my impression is that basically you want whatever Wall Street doesn't want. Wall Street has effectively bought both parties, not just the Republican Party, but the Democratic Party. And I
like that. I like that as a talking point for an outsider, a maverick candidate. Good. And
I support the Volcker rule. You want exactly the sort of tough regulation that the left is calling for. So that's, to the extent that I've thought about it, that is my thinking, including all the limits on derivatives that are proposed that Wall Street is bristling at.
I think in that utterance was what should be your campaign slogan, Mickey. Do you know what sentence I'm talking about?
Whatever Wall Street wants, we should be against it.
To the extent that I've thought about it, that is my thinking. A bumper sticker. Okay, wait, we're moving on here. Do the drone strikes in Pakistan violate international law? And if so, should we not do them?
I don't see quite why they violate international law, but the pragmatic question is the key one. It's just, are we making more enemies than we're killing? And I would say it's a close call. Eventually, that'll be true, but I don't see where that is true now. I talked with a soldier returning from Afghanistan, and he was very, very pessimistic about the war, the way the war is going there. He said that he patrols one of these sections that we've allegedly taken back, and he says he knows that 90% of the people he's that he's helping are actually sympathetic to the Taliban, but he doesn't know who they are and he can't do anything about it. Well, that's a much higher number than you hear in the press. In the press, you hear that the people hate the Taliban and they're happy to see them go. And he just thought the whole process of nation building was doomed unless we make a 30-year commitment to be like the British and just say, this is the way we're going to do it. And we're not going to do that. So that leaves the only rationale for the war, that we want to kill a bunch of Taliban and work with Pakistan to wipe out the Taliban before we go. And you would think that the drone strikes fit in with that strategy. And then in a couple of years...
Did you say wipe out the Taliban before we go? You know how many dead civilians?
Wipe out Al-Qaeda before we go.
Wipe out Al-Qaeda.
We're not going to wipe out the Taliban.
That's a pretty amorphous goal, if you ask me. But I agree that people on the ground there do not give us encouraging reports. The good news is, from what I understand, I mean, not to get into sharing my own opinions with you in this particular dialogue, but the good news is that there are cases where we just skedaddle and get out of town. There's one well-known case, and the locals after that reject the Taliban. The reason, and it turns out that the only reason the Taliban had any sway with them is that they were uniting with the Taliban to get us the hell out of there. Sometimes our presence, I think more and more, I'm convinced that our presence strengthens the Taliban. But anyway, I digress. You're the candidate, not me.
Well, Obama was big on exit ramps, and it seems to me in a couple of years he's going to take one of those exit ramps.
I'd like to see that. But you don't think we should withdraw from Afghanistan anytime soon? You're not calling for an acceleration of withdrawal, or on the other hand, troop strength that would exceed his current plans.
Let's pursue the current plan for a couple of years and then make an assessment. But the early signs are not positive.
So you're adopting a wait and see policy.
No, wait and see. I'm saying we should give war a chance. Give the plan a chance to work.
Give war a chance. Now that's a good slogan for a Democrat. Someone running for the Democratic nomination. Give war a chance.
I knew you'd like that one. I did that one for you.
All we are saying.
I think we should give the surge a chance to work. The surge worked in Iraq, and it has a less of a chance of working in Afghanistan, I think, but it's a plan by our best military people, including the guy who thought of the surge in Iraq, and it's worth a shot. I'm not in favor of staying there indefinitely if it doesn't work, but it seems to me it's worth a shot. Okay. Kandahar will be a big test. I mean, that's the heartland of the Taliban, and if we can actually achieve what we want to achieve in Kandahar, then maybe it's not as futile as we thought. The people I talked to coming back from Iraq in 2005 were incredibly pessimistic too. They said it's FUBAR, it's hopeless, and it turned out it wasn't FUBAR. It turned out that their perspective was a little skewed in the negative direction.
I wouldn't say that Iraq has turned into paradise, but you're right.
If we could get Afghanistan to where Iraq is, it would be unbelievable.
That would be an improvement. Okay, so you are adopting a wait and see policy, and I might supplement that by suggesting
wait and see are your words, Bob. I hate it when reporters put words in my mouth.
So you would say wait and see then?
That's why the Fourth Estate is in such disrespect.
So you would say appoint a commission to study the Afghanistan war?
No, I say see the surge through and see if it works.
Oh, so okay.
Before we abandon the strategy, let's give the strategy a try.
Okay.
I stand with my presidents.
Okay. Next question: should torture be legal? Yes or no?
Torture should be illegal.
Ooh, that's not your actual view. So politics has corrupted you. You are lying, Mickey Kaus. You are lying.
Well, it depends. It
depends.
I guess you're right. I was lying. I think torture should be legal only in extremely limited, carefully circumscribed and supervised, and probably wildly improbable circumstances.
Okay. Well, that's a load off my mind. Let's see.
The routine practice of torture, as seems to have happened in some American military outposts across the world, is bad for the country.
That's a very courageous stance you're taking there.
See Frank Gibney's Taxi to the Dark Side.
Alex Gibney's Taxi to the Dark Side. Frank is his father, who was himself a military interrogator, and is actually featured at the very end of the documentary.
Correct. Okay, sorry, I got my Gibneys wrong.
It's easy to do. All those Bee Gees blur together in my mind. I don't know.
I had my problems with the movie, but it effectively convinced you that they were torturing people in Bagram Arabic.
And it did win the Academy Award. It was not just a finalist, it actually won.
There's a big difference.
There's a very big difference, especially if they don't let you bask first. But if I sound bitter, you're getting me mixed up with someone else. So, let's see, what else? Anything else? Well, what about your past drug use, Mickey? Is there anything you'd like to share with us about your youth?
No, they haven't uncovered it yet. The Gawker, this Gawker Oppo project, I assume you sent them various damning blogging heads clips.
We did our best.
Where I make a fool of myself, but they haven't published anything. I'm concluding that they have nothing. They haven't even discovered.
I think they're waiting until you pose a true threat to Barbara Boxer, and then they're going to spring it on you.
No, don't be silly. This is Gawker we're talking about. They operate by different rules. They have to post 15 times a day, and they'll throw up whatever they got. But they haven't. I assume it's because I'm clean as a whistle. They
That's
got
one
nothing.
explanation.
The guy did discover an obscure country that I once copyrighted the lyrics to a country and western song.
Wow, that could sink a campaign.
Well, if you read the lyrics, you might think that. But
care to share them with us?
No thanks.
Come on, Mickey, please.
They're in the public domain. You can go find them.
Can we link to them? If we search Mickey Kaus country western lyrics, will we get it?
I don't think so. But there is he found it on the web, so it's somewhere in the copyright office on the web.
Speaking of searching and not finding, I Googled Mickey Kaus Senate and did not get your campaign website. We need to work on search optimization at Kaus campaign headquarters.
But it's kaus4senate.com. You can do a number 4 or an FOR. Kaus4senate.com.
Yeah, but I wound up at a website where the URL was something like completecampaigns.com. It was like the equivalent of Blogger, software,
Yeah, well, that's where my website is.
Oh man, that's so cheesy. And
It
you
didn't
telling me
It didn't have my picture on it. It didn't say Mickey Kaus for Senate.
Yeah, it did. But I mean, if you looked at the URL, you were hosted by some cheesy, I mean, I got the impression there's so many people out there running these hopeless, not that that's a bad thing, campaigns, that there's a whole company devoted to hosting their campaign sites and nursing their delusions.
This is a legitimate company. I'm sure some of their candidates win. They're real elected officials who use it. It's why go through all the 100 things you have to do to design a campaign website when this company can do it for you and sell you an off the shelf turnkey solution?
It's a turnkey solution.
It's not very attractive. I did not have the manpower to duplicate all those steps myself, especially have a contribution page, which is there, that can legally that allows people to legally donate money in compliance with FEC regulations. That they have. That's their big selling point. And by going with them, I got an instant solution to the campaign contribution problem, which is very, very important. So while all sorts of other things are not optimal and it doesn't look the best in the world, it actually looks better than Barbara Boxer's site, which is hideous. But
Mickey, don't say that about her site. Say that about her appearance if you want to get some publicity.
The point is you can go there and contribute money and it will be legal. That's the key. And it also hosts my blog. I
think without knowing it, you unearthed what should be the campaign slogan for you in there somewhere. You know what it was?
Her
Mickey
website
Kaus. No, Mickey Kaus, the turnkey solution. You just purport to solve all of humankind's problems and call yourself the turnkey solution.
That's a good one. I'll take it. I'll pose that to my kitchen cabinet.
That's a good one. Now we're almost out of town. I think you wanted to say something about Tiger Woods. Before we do that, do you want to make a final fundraising appeal, Mickey?
Sure. I'm running a serious campaign. I'm raising serious issues. The Democratic Party is broken. It's been captured by its interest groups. The two issues I'm raising are two very, very important issues that are on the current agenda. Do we want to give unions more power? They practically own the Democratic Party here in California. I think that's a bad idea. And do we want a comprehensive immigration reform that risks another wave of illegal immigrants before we secure the borders? If you agree with these things, I need your money to put ads on the web to get name recognition and to get some traction. You can go to my website, www.kausforsenate.com. That's Kaus for Senate.com, and there's a contribution page. And if you give me whatever you can, I would really appreciate it. There's a limit. The federal limit is $2,400. I don't expect you to give that, but whatever you can would be.
I don't think that's going to be a problem. I don't think that's going to be a problem, Mickey.
One guy maxed out.
Really?
I have one donor who maxed out. Yes, he
Do
owns
you know
me
who
now.
he is?
Well, I know his name. I have to write him a thank you note, I think.
I would get busy on that. He may have friends, Mickey.
Yeah.
They tend to.
So anyway, that would be great, and it would. It's what I need now to get off the ground.
What about volunteers? Do you need volunteers? Unpaid interns?
I have less use of volunteers right now. I will need volunteers as Election Day approaches.
But it's not too soon for them to go ahead and get their names in the.
There's a volunteer sign-up sheet there.
Okay.
You can sign up, and you can also sign up for emails, where I sort of send out whatever updates on the campaign and whatever press releases I put out. I put out 2 press releases already, so there you go.
And if I might close with a testament before we move to Tiger Woods, in terms of sending you money, I can assure people, based on my decades-long knowledge of you and acquaintance and deep friendship with you, that one thing they don't have to worry about is their money going to finance sexual escapades with Rielle Hunter, if that's her name. Am I right? That's not going to happen.
That's correct. All my mistresses have been totally taken care of. They've already been flown out of the country to undisclosed locations.
They're hiking the Appalachian Trail even as we speak.
And you don't have to worry about that it's going to be wasted on high living and consultants. It's going to go directly into advertising that will bring my message to a state thirsty for an alternative to conventional democratic politics.
And you don't have to worry that it'll have been wasted on a candidate who would have won even without your contribution. I can assure you that that's not the case.
If you give money to Barbara Boxer, she's reached the point of diminishing returns. I have not reached that point. Every dollar you give me will count.
Will count.
Will make a difference. Will make a difference. Will
go
towards boosting my vote total.
Right. Mickey Kaus, make a difference with the turnkey solution. Now on to Tiger Woods. What do you want to say?
How disappointed are you? It's weird. I know you've written about how we have to brutally punish Tiger Woods to maintain the
I didn't actually say that. I just said maybe it would be better for America if it didn't turn out that you could conspicuously do what he did and then come back and win the Masters, and resume your career without a hiccup. So I'm delighted. Well, this was like a hallmark card of a Masters. You got Phil Mickelson, right? The very icon of devotion to his suffering wife and his suffering mother, for that matter.
That's what they said about John Edwards, too.
I don't think Mickelson... I think Mickelson may in real life not be as nice a person as he seems, but I don't think you've got some kind of rampant scandal of that sort in his background, I would guess. I would guess. But anyway, I was loving that. Because it was so classically Mickelson. I mean, on that, I guess the 13th hole, the par 5... no, maybe it wasn't the 13th. It was a par 5. He was faced with this classic Mickelson situation. Do you go for broke or do you play it conservative? And he did what he's always been criticized for doing. He went for broke, and it worked. It worked.
Is that the one where he hit it out of the woods and cleared the creek and landed on the green?
Unbelievable. And then he did the classic Mickelson thing of missing a 4-foot putt. But it was still a birdie.
That was an unbelievable shot. I agree.
He hung in there.
A couple of points. First, I've seen people ragging on you on the web for, the standard, now we have the standard Hallmark card thing of the Mickelson family against the evil Tiger Woods. It is slightly overplayed and predictable and uninteresting. Second, people are saying all these nasty things about Tiger Woods that I never knew, like that he curses, and he's always cursed. And when you follow behind him, even when he was this gold-plated icon, he was cursing up a storm, and they just didn't report it. So now they're reporting a bunch of nasty things about Tiger Woods that they never reported before because they had to maintain his image.
Actually, no, that's not true. I think there was a fairly critical, I think in Sports Illustrated story, months before the scandal broke, I believe. But certainly, look, he swore on camera enough where the microphones picked it up that was no great secret. They knew that he threw clubs occasionally and displayed his temper more than was traditionally considered kosher in golf. So that's not such a shocker.
I thought you wrote a piece that he was the Zen master of control and containment.
Well, that was like 1997. No, actually, I wrote about how he was unusual in managing to reconcile a manifest temper, with successful performance. In that respect, he was like John McEnroe in tennis. In tennis and golf, there are many players who can be anger with much frequency and still be great. McEnroe and Woods were exceptions.
McEnroe was a jerk, though. Jesus,
no, he was a jerk, and we now know he was on steroids. By the way, his own
really?
former wife his own former wife has said that.
Huh.
And there are now questions about Tiger Woods. He was dealing with this quite dubious doctor. But
and he's ballooned like
yeah.
You know.
He's gone from looking like me to looking like you, is the way I put it, Mickey.
There you go.
Scrawny to buff.
Now he looks like Joe Piscopo.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm trying to think of what's. Anyway,
Yeah.
what's the movie? He turned into the Incredible Hulk. That's the sophisticated
It's that
movie
kind of
reference
transformation.
I was
right.
groping for. Yes. Okay.
Lou, whatever that guy's name was. Yeah.
Ferrigno. Yes.
Ferrigno. So are we? We're at about an hour, I think, Mickey.
Okay,
and I'm in Chicago. I'm in Chicago. I got to go out. I got things to do, people to see.
Okay. I thought I had one more Tiger Woods point, but I forget what it was. First, they're all saying, well, he failed. Well, he finished fourth in the Masters. That's pretty good.
That's damn good.
You should finish fourth in the Masters. It's not easy.
Hey, I finished third in the... Oh, never mind. I should. It's not easy.
I don't think he's... I don't think he's failed, and he's just one of the guys now. I think that's fine. I don't think he has to be punished more.
Oh, I think it would have been...
It's not illegal to have... It's not illegal to have a string of tawdry mistresses.
I think it would have been... well, first of all, he had turned himself into a role model. Tiger Woods Foundation, blah, 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 the kinds of endorsements he chose to do. He was depicted as the epitome of self-discipline and virtue and so on.
Well, that's his sin. That's his sin. He's a phony. Not that he's a philanderer, but he's a phony.
Well, this is a long argument, but you're right. That is his big. That is a big part of his sin. Yes.
If he was Bobby Riggs and didn't pretend that he was anything other than a dissolute gambler who could play tennis, he'd be Bobby Riggs. That's fine.
You are correct, sir. And if Spitzer hadn't been Attorney General, and so on, then
he wouldn't be a slate. He wouldn't have a job as slate, whereas I don't.
I'm telling you, man, this rehabilitation thing is getting a little out of control. The filer faster rehabilitation thing. But to get back to the point, I think it's good for Woods that he didn't win. I think everyone would have thought that was too soon. He needed to atone. I personally thought he should have taken the Masters off, if only for public relations reasons, to be seen atoning, to be seen sacrificing. But he came back. And the crowd, by the way, he was not getting the love from the crowd. There was polite applause. He was not getting the love he used to get. And I think if he had won, it actually would have been worse for him in the long run in that sense.
I agree, but anyway, I don't see any point in beating up at him anymore. But
well, you won't see me doing it. I got my 2 columns out of him, so I'm waiting for your sex scandal, Mickey, for my next column.
We'll see what happens. There are.
Sounds like you're leaving the door open. Sounds like you're sending a little signal to some of our viewers, Mickey, that if they wanted to get in touch with you, they could.
No, that's not my pitch.
Okay.
My pitch is to go to my website and contribute whatever you can, whatever you think is reasonable, if you agree with me. That's my pitch.
Or if not. Okay.
And there will be merch soon.
Yeah.
There will be bumper stickers that you can buy. It's weird. Somebody has already... Some random person has already put like Cows for Senate merch on Cafe Press. And there's one that says like "Make Bob Wright's head explode." You can buy a T-shirt that says that.
Excellent.
So,
I want one of those.
And there's one that says, "Screw the juice box mafia." So this guy's better than I am.
So if this appearance on Blogging Heads leads to a flood of campaign contributions, you will be back soon, I assume.
Yes, I'm happy to be back soon anyway, because at some point I'm going to have like an actual bumper sticker to display that I'll be very proud of.
Okay, so you'll be back. Excellent.
Yes, if I thought people were actually watching this, you've embarrassed me enough that would actually cause me damage.
The audience will be in the 5 figures, and that may be more than we can say for your vote count, okay?
Right, but if I thought the audience was California political reporters, you have embarrassed me enough that I'm not sure I would want them to watch this.
Okay,
if it's just the Blogging Heads community, they're sophisticated.
It's just the East Coast intelligentsia. No, don't worry.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. Godspeed, Mickey Kaus.
Good luck in Chicago.
Hey, thanks.
And congratulations on the Pulitzer. I mean, unlike the winner, your book was not only well documented, but it was well written and funny.
Nice of you to say that, and thanks for the blog post. You interrupted your campaign blogging on your campaign blog to actually say nice things about the book. Thank you.
Well, the idea was that I draw all those Bob Wright fans there, and then they contribute money when they're there. So that was my insidious plan. But it's a great book.
How's that working out? That plan?
I don't know. I'll see when I get back to my website. But it's a really good book. It should have won the Pulitzer Prize.
Wait, you just said great the first time, and now you're saying really good.
It's a great book.
Thank you. On that note, and you're running a great campaign, Mickey.
Thank you. And it's called Bob's book is called as long as we're back scratching, called The Evolution of God, and you can buy it on Amazon.
Right. And your campaign is called The Evolution of Mickey.
Okay.
All right. See you around.
Thank you. Yep.
My pleasure. You too.